Again, like I said, going back to my second piece of advice, be selfish. This is my way of being selfish as well. Like, yeah, of course, you could argue that, well, Ren, if you really wanted the best for your subscribers, or if you wanted to be the most transparent, whatever, the most honest YouTuber out there, then you should put your mouth where your money is. Or I don't think that's the saying, but why don't you just like say it as it is? Or why don't you do more deep dives on this personality or that talking point? And it's like, yeah, if I wanted to be a martyr, sure. I mean, everyone loves a martyr, but who suffers the most in that whole dynamic? It's the person who puts themselves out on the chopping block, right? And I'm telling you straight up right now that I am not willing to put myself on the chopping block, right? Like, to a certain extent, I will do what I can for my overflow, not at my own detriment, right? But to the people that show up for me, and the people that definitely they don't have any ulterior motives, and they genuinely just want to hear my unique perspective or my take on things, or they like the way that I solve problems, they align with my views on certain things. Yeah, I want to cater to those people to a certain extent, and on occasion, right, like, I'll go above and beyond for those people, but I'm not going to be a martyr. I'm just putting that out there right now. And none of you listening to this should be a martyr either. If you want a good life for yourself, don't put yourself on the chopping block. Don't be a martyr. Don't be an activist. Oh my God. I don't believe that activism is any place for a truly feminine woman. I believe that it's very damaging to the feminine psyche. Oh, okay, this is a good one. This is another good one. Don't stay in places where you are not appreciated. This is a very big one. Obviously, there are some situations where you kind of don't have a choice. Like, for example, if you are working a job that you hate, or you're being undervalued there, but you need to hold on to the job, at least for the time being, to pay your bills, then yeah, don't make any rash moves and just quit your job. But you should, if you feel like you're being disrespected or you're not being valued in a certain space, you should be planning your exit strategy like yesterday. Every single day that you have to be there in order to survive, so whether it's a job that you hate, or whether it's your location for, okay, so I don't want to get too much into this because this is like not my community, so I can't speak on it that well, but I hear like certain groups of women complain that they're not viewed as attractive in their locale. But like, for example, we can use, I'm trying to think, would the passport bro situation fall under this umbrella? I'm not sure. Okay, you know what? We'll say this. You know those TikToks that I've been seeing from time to time, when you're a 5 in your home country, but then you go to Europe and you're a 10? That type of vibe, right? Like, I'll just use myself. I mean, yeah, it's fine. Like, okay, I understand. I pretty much fit the standard of beauty, I guess, in most parts of the world. I'm living in Asia. I'm living in Japan, so I guess you would consider me like slightly above average here. But since everyone here is Asian, right? Either Japanese or some other East Asian, Southeast Asian, there are a lot of people who look like me. Like, my type of beauty is not so unique here because it's everywhere. I fit the dominant demographic of women in this area. However, so I can say that, okay, maybe I'm a 7 in Japan, but when I go to places like the UAE, or even like the States, right? Places where there's less of a population of attractive Asian female women, female and woman is the same thing. So if there's less of a population of Asian women there, then by default, I'm gonna stand out. I'm gonna be seen as like a 10 out of 10 in Dubai, right? Which is one of the reasons why I love Dubai so much. And I have no problem saying that, right? Because it's math, it's girl math, it's geography, right? Like, of course, Middle Eastern girls are beautiful, and there's tons of variety of beautiful girls in the States and other Western countries. But the point is that I kind of stick out a little bit if I go to the UAE or to Qatar or something. I really want to go to Qatar. Next time I go to Dubai, or maybe once I actually move to Dubai, I'm definitely taking that opportunity to visit the neighboring Middle Eastern countries. Qatar, Saudi Arabia. There was one more. Oman. I heard Oman is nice too. But yeah, so this is why it's important to, get your finances up. And this is why I am a proponent of social climbing to some extent. Even if you're not necessarily trying to marry into old money or whatnot, which most women, realistically, that is not their actual goal. But it can only serve to benefit you if you manage to penetrate higher circles. Like, if anything, at least get to the point where you can travel, right? Whether it's on your own dime or other people want to sponsor you. I don't care how you go about it, but travel is really important, especially if you ever felt like you were not completely accepted or celebrated as a woman, or if you've always felt like, okay, my type of beauty has never really been appreciated in my hometown. Go travel, like go find the place in the world where they will celebrate your beauty and where you are going to be valued and prized. That's like your God-given right in 2025.
In some cultures, heavy women with mustaches are considered beautiful.
We have the means to do that now. I mean, I don't want to say like be a passport cis, but yeah, you can be a passport cis. You know why? Because there's no stigma attached to being a passport cis. The only reason that passport bro has a negative stigma is because, well, I mean, it's referring to mostly like white guys that go to poor Southeast Asian countries for schmex tourism, which is not indicative of all passport bros, to be fair, because there are plenty of so-called passport bros, but they work in legitimate industries or respectable industries, and they just happen to move to a different part of the world. There's plenty of, like, I don't know what to call them. We can call them high class, high value passport bros. Oh my god, did I just coin a new term? Ew, okay. Why do I feel kind of sick to my stomach? But no, real talk though, I know a couple of high value, so-called high value passport bros. They are not high value to me, but over here in this part of the world, I know white guys that are lawyers and doctors, and they make like six-figure salaries here in Japan. They've learned the language. So I will say, like, the two white guys that I know, at least they learned the language to its fullest extent. Like, they have JLPT1, which is the highest level that you can get of the Japanese proficiency test. That's the one that I hold as well, the JLPT1 certification. And their Japanese is probably better than mine, to be honest, even though I'm saying that at the detriment of my own ego. But like, the fact that they're able to work in fields such as law and medicine in Japan, meaning that they know all of the medical and lawyerly terms in Japanese as well, that's like, I can't talk about law in Japanese, right? I'm good in regular conversation or at dinner parties, but I cannot talk about like how to give surgery in Japanese. I know like one or two white guys over here that have put in the work and they are at the level where they can do that. So they technically, you can call them a passport bro, but since they actually work in respectable professions, since they actually make enough money to be a provider, and like they have the ability to support an entire family and their wives don't have to work, nobody has anything to say to them, right? They can do whatever they want basically because they've earned it. If we're going to be honest, they did earn it. And yeah, as long as they're happy, as long as their Japanese wives are happy, who's going to say anything about that, right? The only reason that the word passport bro, the term, ever became kind of like a hot topic of discussion is because the ones that give the whole community a bad rap are the ones that have been elevated to the forefront of social media or news. Like, when you think of passport bro, you think of schmex tourists in Thailand, right? You think of like, what's that character on the White Lotus, played by Sam Rockwell, who I love, by the way. I love Sam Rockwell. I was so excited when I saw that he was having a cameo in the third season. And I love Sam Rockwell. The fact that he embodied that character so well, like that sleazy, kind of oily looking white expat in Thailand, he embodied it to a T, which gave me mixed feelings. Because it's like, on the one hand, I would expect nothing less for Sam Rockwell than to completely melt into his performance like that. But on the other hand, I felt this like mild feeling of disgust that I didn't want to see one of my favorite actors inhabit such a sleazy character. So, like the fact that he did it so well, I'm like, on the one hand, it speaks to his acting chops, but then on the other hand, ew. And I don't understand why his monologue was seen as such a revolutionary thing either. Did anyone here watch The White Lotus season 3? he gave this whole monologue. Was it Rick? No, it was Rick's friend, Frank. But he gave this whole monologue about how he had schmecks with all of these Thai girls, or he paid all these S workers to have schmecks, but then like it got to a point where it was not satisfying for him anymore. And then he realized one day that he didn't want to be the one effing the Thai girls or whatever. He wanted to be the Asian girl. I don't know what they were on when they wrote that monologue. It was entertaining for sure. And especially coming from Sam Rockwell, trust me, I got a huge kick out of that whole monologue, but I don't see what's so revolutionary about it though. Like, is this supposed to be profound? Like, okay, so basically he wants to be transgender. He thinks he's transgender and transracial is what I got from that monologue, right? Because he wants to be an Asian girl. He wants to be a hot Asian girl, is essentially in a nutshell what he was saying to Rick. Doesn't everyone want to be a hot Asian girl? Like, this is not news to me. But yeah, so basically what he's questioning his gender orientation, he's questioning his race. So he wants to be like the Rachel Dolezal of Thailand. Why is that? Why is everyone treating this as like a genius monologue? Is it unhinged? Yes, absolutely. It's one of the most unhinged things I've heard on network television to date. But is it profound? I'm not sure about that. We got way off topic. Don't be a martyr. Don't be an activist. Go to places where you're celebrated. If you are one of those girls who look different from everyone else in your town, and maybe you were bullied or teased about your appearance when you were growing up, you must know it's a matter of like life or death. I'm not even joking. You must know that number one, there is a place in this world where your type of beauty is not only celebrated, it is actually the preferred type of beauty. So you need to, if you are still suffering, like if you carry wounds from being perceived as unattractive, let's say, by your peers as a child, and if you are carrying those wounds into adulthood, which we tend to do, right? Because most of our problems as adults can be traced back to some traumatic events in childhood. If you're carrying them into adulthood, you need to find the opposite and equal reaction to that and apply it to your life experience ASAP. Okay, not to be like dramatic, but it is a matter of life and death for feminine women to be celebrated and adored. This is a fundamental need for women. We need to be adored. Okay, we need to be praised and adored, preferably for our looks, for our physicality. That's just how it is, biologically speaking. But some women, lots of women, if they can't get it through their physical attractiveness, they will try everything in their power to get it from other avenues, such as, I don't know, excelling academically or being at the top of their field in their industry, which is nothing wrong with. But the truth remains that as feminine women, we have a fundamental need to be adored and to be seen by the world. Okay, that's why social media is for women. And don't date any guys. Don't date guys that are active on social media. But that's a tip for a different video. That's like tips regarding dating. This is just general life advice for the girls in your 20s. You need to be in places where you are celebrated. You, in particular, your type of beauty, your type of body, your features, whatever. You need to be amongst people that specifically worship that type of beauty. And yes, I'm using the word worship deliberately there, because if you are somewhere where the standard of beauty is something that you can never measure up to, like let's say for example it's something that you can't control, right? Like let's say that they value lighter skin where you're from and your skin is of a deeper complexion. So I mean, what you could do, what a lot of people do in those situations, a lot of girls, if they don't have the means to travel or to like move to a different location where people appreciate their tan skin, a lot of girls will take the second most accessible route, which is to maybe lighten their skin, sadly, right? But we know this is very, very common throughout all of Asia pretty much. But let's say Southeast Asia, for example. Like I met a girl in Dubai who is from, oh God, I'm so sorry. I can't remember.
She was from the Philippines.
But she spoke like perfect English. So I don't know if she went to school in the UK or something, but she told me about how like in Vietnam or basically anywhere in Asia, they prize light skin, which is crazy because a lot of like most of the population in those countries in Southeast Asia are of a tanner, deeper complexion because of the, proximity to the sun. But it just makes it all the more so, in a twisted way, it makes like fairer skin all the more so prized, because it's kind of like a status symbol that you didn't have to work in the sun, right? You were able to lounge about indoors because you had the social class, you had the wealth in order to enable you to do that. So yeah, she told me about how like she really didn't like it when she was growing up, because they would always talk about how like she herself wasn't even super dark, and I don't think she was targeted or singled out per se, but she just told me that she didn't like the general vibe, like the negativity towards her natural skin tone. And not just her, but like, you know, other girls growing up in her same town or whatever. She didn't like the negative programming that was thrust upon them constantly about how their darker skin, their tanner skin was not desirable. I'm sure they got pressured to bleach their skin or use lightening creams and all of that. And so she just like, she decided early on that, okay, I'm not going to live here then. And that is a sound, healthy decision made by somebody who has a healthy, proper amount of self-love for themselves. You see what I mean? So that's my friend that I met in Dubai. We actually met on a women's traveling group on Facebook, and we happened to be going to Dubai at the same time, so we decided to meet up, and it turned into this serendipitous friendship. Like, I could not have asked for a better girl to meet up with. And yeah, she told me about how she was like, yeah, okay, as soon as I realized that if I stayed in my hometown, they were just gonna harp on this very narrow standard of beauty that I was never going to fit. The minute that I realized that I was never going to live up to their expectations, I chucked them the deuces. Like, okay, I'm out of here then. I'm gonna just make a career for myself outside of this country. And that's exactly what she did. So I don't think she even works for a company. I think she is just like a freelance teacher. Yeah, I think she teaches English online, and she already has her clientele, her student base built up, and so she can work anywhere from anywhere in the world. And then she told me that she actually, to my surprise, she spoke pretty good Russian, because there's a lot of Russians in Dubai. And I just remember, like, you know, some guys came up to us one night and they were trying to hit on us, and they were Russian, and she was responding to them in almost perfect Russian. I mean, I'm not sure because I don't understand Russian, so I don't know how good it was, but it seemed like they seemed pretty impressed by her Russian language ability. And so I thought that was interesting too, because and I asked her, oh my God, I didn't know that you were fluent in Russian. Like, what made you decide to study that? And she was like, yeah, you know, it's just going back to what I was talking to you about, how I didn't want to be around the people that I grew up around. Like, they were always Debbie Downers. They were just very negative and very small minded, and always, you know, pushing onto me this idea that my skin tone was not attractive and that I would have to lighten my skin or whatever. So I decided to just go completely the opposite of that, right? I don't know if she actually went to Russia. She might have actually went to Russia for a period of time to study Russian, I guess. And she was like, yeah, I'm just going to go to like the exact opposite ends of the earth, to where people are going to appreciate me just because I'm different, right? Just because, like, if she goes to Russia, she's going to be the only Southeast Asian in whatever community that she happens to be around for the time that she's there. And she's going to be celebrated, like, solely on the fact that she's Southeast Asian, and everyone around her is like a blonde, blue-eyed Russian girl. I don't know if this is exactly her situation, but this is like the gist of what I'm getting at, you know? Don't stay in places where you're not celebrated, or where you feel like you're a second-class citizen, right? Because that's very dangerous, because sometimes you feel like, okay, well, being a second-class citizen at least is better than a third or fourth, fifth class citizen. At least I'm like B rank. Maybe in your town or in your country you're not considered a 10, but maybe you're considered a 7, and you feel like, okay, well, at least I'm still like kind of above average, so maybe I should just be thankful for this. No. I'm telling you, no, don't settle for that. Go find the place where you are considered a 10, because there is a place out there. There are people out there in this world that consider you a 10. It's your job to go find them, okay? Everyone's happy that way. You get the praise and adoration at the level that you deserve, and then they also get to worship a 10 that they would not normally have the privilege of coming into contact with, unless you made that brave, bold move. I wish I could play a clip from Legally Blonde for you guys. I'll just describe her for you. If you watch Legally Blonde, there's a scene where she's basically recording her video essay. Everyone else just wrote an essay, but Elle Woods wanted to be different, or she wanted to add her own flair. So she recorded a video essay of her like speaking into the camera as part of her application to Harvard Law School, right? And then I remember her dad in the movie said something like, "Are you sure you want to go there? Like those people."
Oh, sweetheart, you don't need law school.
I don't remember the exact line. I'll put the scene in if I edit this footage later, but he was like, I just don't think that they would appreciate, like, they wouldn't understand all that you have to offer, right? Like, you're so lively and bubbly and attractive, and I feel like that would be lost on these Harvard people, right? Like, it would be wasted on them.
Law school's for people who are boring and ugly and serious. And you, Button, are none of those things.
Are you sure you want to waste your gifts on them? It would fall on deaf ears, right? Like, they wouldn't even know how to appreciate you, even if you did get accepted to Harvard. Something like that. And like, obviously this is a movie, it's a kind of a comedy, so we're not taking it super seriously, but her dad set a bar in that scene. It's one of the scenes that still like sticks out in my mind all these years later, which is basically exactly what I'm saying here, that you should go where you're celebrated. Now, obviously in the movie, like, she triumphs in the end and she proves that you can be brains and beauty at the same time, and la la la, it's all wrapped up in a pretty bow because it's a movie. But in real life, you need to see the writing on the wall as soon as you can. And this is where detachment comes in too, right? Because the sooner you learn to detach, the less emotional turmoil you're gonna have to go through. If you can get to the point where you don't take it personally when you realize that, okay, maybe I'm not considered attractive, or maybe people just don't appreciate me in this town. Sometimes you could be too attractive even. This pattern plays out countless times as well, like the super pretty girl in a small town full of jealous mid-ass bitches. No, but like, if you're super pretty to the point where you stand out and you make the other women or whoever in your vicinity insecure, then you need to move to LA, right? If you were born like somewhere in, I don't know, Mississippi with a population of 525, and all the girls bullied you and they tried to cut your hair off or pour bleach and acid into your shampoo bottle so that you would ruin your hair and ruin your looks because they were threatened by your beauty, then you're the type of girl that needs to move to somewhere like LA or Miami or anywhere where there is a high concentration of commercially beautiful people, so that you'll actually be safer in those environments, because in a way you'll be seen more as average, like more typical, if you're a beautiful girl in LA and Miami and stuff. But you'll be safer, right? You'll be safe from like the sabotage or the jealousy of average women in your bumpkin country ass hometown. But yeah, no, I thought that Legally Blonde clip was great.